those of you who know me know that I'm a UK university lecturer, or those of you who watched the videos for a while probably mentioned that I teach at a higher education level. Recently, I was given the module Operating Systems to teach, and now at first it seemed a bit daunting, but I'm also quite thrilled at the same time because Operating Systems is my favourite module. It was my favourite module as a student. I felt like I learned more about computers or computing in general from that one module than I did my whole time in university. And of course, it gives you such a grounds up approach of computers and computing. So I was very thrilled to be taking on the module. Now, why am I making this video? Well, as the title kind of give away, I have some books to recommend. Now, these books are books that I've kind of read chapters of, the books that I've read through, the books that I've kind of just done a few exercises on, and I'm slowly chipping my way through. But nonetheless, I wanted to recommend them because I feel that they may be useful for someone who is new to C or somebody who is trying to get familiar with C programming. For those of you who aren't familiar or haven't been following the journey, I've recently picked up learning C about a few months ago. I've programmed, since before I was a university student. I started with higher level languages, and I was getting more and more frustrated because I feel like I didn't know what was going on underneath the hood. So I kind of was always put off by C because I thought that it's too complicated. I mean, that's what the systems engineers do, and so on. And I'm a web developer, so why would I need to learn that? Anyway, I decided to kind of challenge myself. How much of C can I learn in a year? So anyway, that's where we are today. And these books I feel have tied in directly to my learning of C, so I want to recommend them. Something that was really interesting to me was this. I watched this interview with Ken Thompson not long ago. Now, Ken Thompson, for those you don't know, created Unix. Okay, he had a lot to do with the C programming language or the B programming language. You can look up the history of that. There was an interview. He went into teaching, and he kind of said that he had to do a lot of studying, he had to do a lot of work, and I'll have to find the clip and put it up in this video. So if I found the clip, you can listen to it shortly.
For a year, and went off to a school to teach. From the other way around, from a school going to Bell Labs, it's called a sabbatical. So this is kind of like an inverse sabbatical. So when I went out there, I taught essentially the whole curriculum. I taught like 3 classes a quarter and probably 10 or 15 classes for the year that I went, because it's all new to me too, and you have to really learn it so that the kids you're teaching it to don't nail you to the wall. They just love to do that. If you make a mistake and tell them something that's not true, you'll just get hammered. So so I was just barely ahead of the students in my classes when I went out there because I'd never had computer science.
Interlude. Why did I play that clip? It's literally just quite comical to me. The guy who created Unix, the guy who literally gave us FreeBSD, who gave us Linux and most modern operating systems, he finds teaching hard. He also talks about school. I don't know what school kids are pinning Ken Thompson to the wall, but anyway, very modest man, of course, but nonetheless, I just found that really interesting. I found it really comforting, and I think everyone watching this should as well. The fact that the guy who, I'll play the clip prior to that, and I'll put a link to the description to the full interview in the comment section below. I'll play the bit prior to that in the end of the video because I just don't want to make it too long. But the fact that the guy who created Unix says that he had such a deep knowledge, but in one particular field, and he was just so focused day to day on getting the problem done. He's very hands-on and solving problems, and that's fantastic. But also building a knowledge, and he said that that's not the right way to do things. It was good, is what was needed at the time. It worked out very well for him, of course, and for the rest of us. I'm using a MacBook right now, which is running Unix, so that's fantastic. But building knowledge in general is probably more worthwhile, and he says that that's the proper way of doing things. So anyway, back to the video. Okay, we're going to talk about books now that are very useful, that have helped me build that general knowledge on operating systems and learning C. Again, I feel like it all ties in together. You have to have a good understanding of architecture, you have to have a good understanding of the C programming language in general and operating systems. You'll see the books. Hopefully you didn't skip through to the books part, but anyway, enjoy the rest of the video. The first book, right, it's this book, Operating Systems 3 Easy Pieces. Okay, if you search OSTEP, on Google, you will find the book. It's PDF for free, and that's actually how I first found out about the book. I found out people, professors recommending it, people who taught operating systems for a while have been recommending it. There's a few other books out there. There's Silberschat's Modern Operating Systems and Tannenbaum's Operating Systems book as well. Now, these books are timeless and they're so valuable, and I've actually got a copy of Silberschat's book. I haven't got Tannenbaum's book, but nonetheless, fantastic book. The reason I decided to pick up this book is because it seems more modern, and it's, from what I've seen online, it's taught by industry experts. So I thought, right, okay, this book may be more suited for our types of students. So I picked up this book and I did not regret it. I got the PDF version and I read through it, and I had Obsidian open next to it and I was taking notes as I was going along. Fantastic book. It breaks down very complex topics, such as the scheduler. It talks about round robin. It talks about, the multi-level feedback queues and so on and so forth. It talks about different types of mechanisms, policies, context switching. It talks about address translation, so you get to understand seg faults, okay, what's going on underneath the hood of the computer when you have a seg fault. Things like that are so valuable, and to me, somebody who's new starting off at C, I've learned a lot about what's going on underneath the hood before progressing any further with my C learning journey. So anyway, absolutely fantastic book. Okay, I'll just open the book up really shortly. I'll tell you about some of the stuff that you'll be learning in this book. It covers three sections. Okay, so the three easy pieces are concurrency. That's not the first one. Visualization, concurrency, and I believe the third one is not protection. It begins with a P though. Bear with me, sorry. But it's a fantastic book. You're going to look at, so in concurrency, you can look at semaphores, threads, virtualization. You're going to look at, obviously, policies, mechanisms. You're going to look at time sharing, of course, malloc and free, so memory APIs and so on. But yeah, so it breaks the book down into three easy pieces. If you bear me, persistent, sorry, that's where it is. I always think it's protection. But it's a fantastic book, okay? So definitely recommend it. Have I read through it yet? No. Do I feel that all of the chapters in here are useful? As much as I've read of the book, yes, I would say that. The book's fairly cheap as well. It's only £23 in the UK. But if you can't afford it, and the authors are fantastic, they've written in the front of the book that they want this learning resource to be available for anyone. So no matter who you are, you can just get the book online for free. So it's a free resource. You'd be silly not to make use of that, okay? And there's a wealth of knowledge in this one book alone. And to be honest, if I had to pick any book out of all the ones I'm going to recommend, I would recommend this book, absolutely, without a doubt. So that's the first book. On to the next book. Now, this is the book that I said something about it at the start, which was a bit of a hot take. It's the C programming language book, okay? This book is fantastic, of course. It's great. It's the Bible of programming, really, okay? For those of you who don't know, this book was written by Brian Kernighan and Dennis Ritchie. I played a few podcast clips of Brian Kernighan on previous episodes. He was on the Lex Friedman podcast. He is a great guy. He's a fantastic guy, and he has dedicated so much hard work into programming and given us great insights into what it was like back in the Unix days. This book is fantastic. Now, there's one thing that I don't like about this book. Now, I was close to putting it down, but I kind of got talked out of it by somebody online. Effectively, this book is great. It will teach you everything you need to know about the C programming language, okay? It's effectively a reference manual built by the guy who made the language, okay, so Dennis Ritchie. The exercises is where I get I find it a bit dicey, okay? So the exercises at the start were great. I find that as you go along, some of the exercises aren't clear in what you are meant to do, and that can be a bit confusing, and you can really interpret the exercise in your own way. I've had to resort to going online to kind of see what people have done for a particular question, so I have an understanding of what I'm meant to do, if that makes sense. So, it's a fantastic book. I feel like everyone has to read it. This is a book that I've got from the university itself, and again, it's a fantastic book because it gives you insights into everything that is to know about C. I felt like recently, and if you're starting off in your C learning journey, I've heard everyone say it, from Linus Torvalds to a guy called Ginger Bill who created the Odin language, okay? Everyone says it's a simple language. It's really easy to learn, but it's very hard to master or get right, or to use C very well. So, it's a great book. I would recommend learning it because you will learn things that you didn't even know you could do in C. Okay, and I feel like that's valuable. Again, someone will have a better take on that than me. Okay, again, as someone who's new to learning C, then I mean, again, great book. You can't complain. I think if you were to learn C, there's another book, Modern C by King, and I think that book is probably better, maybe because it's again, a book that I haven't read. It's a book that I've read a couple of chapters on, but I imagine it's a book more suited to how we program in the modern era. Whereas this book, there's a lot of the programs are confusing. I don't know how else to word it. I've personally struggled with the exercises in that. Not struggled with the exercises, but struggled to interpret what was meant by the exercises. Now, the final book is this book here. Computer Systems: A Programmer's Perspective. Now, this book is fairly expensive. I've seen it online. I was very fortunate that a lecturer had passed this down to me. Okay, so it's a fantastic book. The first chapter alone in this book is worth reading if you are new to program, if you're new to computing, if you're new to computer science. It breaks down, what happens to the Hello World program. It breaks it down from there's different stages that it goes to, from the preprocessor to the compiler to the assembler to the linker and so on. It breaks all of that down for you. Something that I've done for my students actually is kind of these little revision sheets based off the introduction chapters to this book, because it breaks down the computing architecture, okay, caches and such like that. And these are concepts that are very important to anyone who's going to learn low-level programming. Now, again, I want to make this absolutely clear, okay, because I've probably said it a million times before. I am not an expert systems programmer. I'm not an expert C programmer. I don't have a great deal of knowledge or experience with embedded. However, it's something that I'm really passionate about, something I'm enjoying learning. So, again, take these books that I'm recommending with a pinch of salt. But that being said, I feel like sometimes there's no one better to learn from than somebody who's kind of going through the process themselves. That's why we rely on so much of, at least that's why I rely on so heavily on people's kind of feedback online. People who have been programming, who have been, they've been paid to do some C programming at one point in time. Those types of people I'm going to take advice off over someone who's new, of course. That being said, I'm kind of going through the process of picking up books myself. The reason why I didn't put this book down, actually, okay, when I've been going through the examples online, okay, so kind of going off on a tangent here, but if you are interested in looking at the examples of this book, looking at the exercises and looking at the way that I've interpreted those exercises, some of them are probably wrong. I'm kind of creating a GitHub repository at the moment. I'm on chapter 1 now. I'm kind of going through on chapter 2, sorry. I'm kind of going through, writing up all the examples myself, and even trying to follow along with some of the exercises, providing I have time on the particular given day that I've allocated to study for this. But the reason why I didn't put this book down is because someone online said, look, because a lot of people online have said the same. I thought it was just me, but a lot of people have said the same. People have said, look, if you're going to pick up the book, if you only understand 10% of it, it's better than understanding, nothing at all. It's better than not picking the book up, and they're right. I think that sometimes you plod along or you follow through with a book and you pick things up as you go along, and you may not understand everything that's going on. You may not understand some concepts. You may have to read over the book at some points. In fact, a lot of people have said that. It's a book that's well worn. It's a book that they've dog-eared so many times because they've had to pick the book up to learn a particular topic again because they've struggled with it. Anyway, that's that. Those are the 3 books I'd recommend. But if there was one that I would certainly recommend, it's OSTEP. Again, look at it online. Okay, there's some fabulous exercises. One exercise we're going to go over in the next video, which I said I was going to go over in this video. But it's just a video that I wanted to make because I haven't got a great deal of time for a programming video tonight. However, when I was studying, I was thinking, do you know what? These are resources that I would like to share with people who are probably new to learning. So that's all I have to say. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you're new, drop a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, anything, okay? You can come back, you can listen to these videos, you can follow along with my journey, and hopefully I can pass on some knowledge along the way, some wisdom along the way. But again, for those of you who are expert programmers, for those of you who have been programming professionally for years, okay, please take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt, okay? These are resources that I'm using, and they're resources that I found valuable. So, with all due respect, I'm not going to put down these books. I'm going to carry on plodding through and see what happens. Although, to be honest, I don't think there's any hot takes here. I feel like all of these books are kind of well established. So, anyway, again, thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.
task, right? And it consumes me. When I wake up, that's what I do, and when I, it's consumptive. It's what I do, and there's no time to read. Occasionally, when something new comes out, either somebody would tell me or something, and I'd go read things. But if I read some things, typically it was for what I was actually working on at the time. So I was the word is pinhead. Basically, you're not broad even in computer science. I wasn't broad. I was very deep in one piece of it, and pieces of it just I didn't know about. It's just the way when the work is more important than the learning, and to counteract that, I know that was wrong, that I shouldn't do that.